Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Dirtbike Magazine video. Ron just put this up on the website at dirtbikemagazine.com in Ron's Wrap. It's a story on the 2004 Ktm 625Sxc, a great forgotten motorcycle. So instead of reading, we figured you might want to watch a video instead, so stick along and let's go back in time. Ron recently stumbled on a post on thumpertalk.com. The guy was asking about an 04 Ktm 625Xc saw for sale, if he should buy it, was it any good, and so on. No one replied. It was as if the SXC was redacted from the files of motorcycle history. Ron remembers the bike well. Back in 04, Ktm was on fire, in a good way. The bikes were good, business was booming, and the Austrian company had established itself as the premier brand in the off-road world. One of the cornerstones of all that was the new RFC 4-strokes, which were built on the old Husaberg platform. The 625Xc, on the other hand, was built on the old LC4 platform, which was widely considered outdated at the time. The LC4 arrived in 1987 when a liquid-cooled 4-stroke was something special. It was hard to start, heavy, ill handling, and unremarkable in most ways, but it got a little better every year. Over 16 years, that added up to a lot better. It turned out that the new 4-strokes in the KTM line were the best things that could have happened to the LC4. Suddenly, it was no longer expected to be a lightweight race bike. It was liberated to become something much more appropriate. We'll call it a dirt cruiser. It grew a battery and an electric starter, and the price fell into XR territory. That's pretty amazing considering that the bike probably cost more to manufacture than KTM's new 4-strokes. And even more amazing when you consider that in international exchange rates had the dollar at an all-time low versus the euro. The bottom line was that KTM was taking a bit of a beating with the SXC in order to get it established in its new role. The motor was still liquid-cooled. The motor was still a liquid-cooled 4-valve thumper with a wet sump design and 5-speed gearbox. It was still 625cc in actual displacement. It used older WP suspension components and was the only KTM with rear shock linkage. That's right, no PDS. No twin piston shock, just good old-fashioned linkage. We don't know if that made it a KTM from the past or the future. One very significant addition was the Mikuni CV carb. The bike was already compiled with emissions requirements for a California green sticker, and probably wasn't far from street specs of the time. Combine that with a keyed ignition, and we could smell dual sport all over the bike. In the test that appeared in the August 04 issue of Dirtbike, we said that the KTM's power was just like the Honda XR650 of the day. That's saying something. Today, the mighty XR650R has ascended to hollowed status. There are riders who collect them just for parts, claiming that there is nothing equivalent today. It was all about torque. You could virtually idle up steep hills, and all it took was a light twist of the throttle to bust out crazy acceleration. It wasn't much of a rever, but it still made power at 8,500 RPM. There was just no real incentive to scream the motor when it was so much fun down low. Outside the XR, there was no other bike that compared for this type of torque. Not the KTM 525Exc, not any of the 450s, not even a Kawasaki KX500, which was still around. The XR650R and the SXC were two of a kind, but the KTM had an electric starter, whereas the Honda could be a beast to start. The KTM even had a Kickstarter if the battery was dead. It worked fairly easily if you got having it on the left. Remember, this motor was straight out of the 80s. Euro motors were all backwards back then. The starter's on the left and the countershaft sprocket was on the right. That started a chain reaction of backwards parts. The ignition and the rear brake were different from the more modern parts that ran on other KTMs back then. The 625Sxc had a short lifespan. In 07, the first fuel-injected 690 arrived. And although it still carried the LC4 name, it was completely different. It continued to evolve and eventually became today's 690 Enduro. Most of the bikes that Ron remembers fondly from long ago are disappointments to revisit. Even then, Ron complained about the 625's vibration. But as long as Ron doesn't run across one that's affordable and good condition, he's probably safe. He'll probably continue to enjoy the memory without complaint. Well, that's it on the 2004 KTM 625Sxc. Just a quick little story that Ron typed up on dirtbikemagazine.com. Some cool history and a cool viewpoint from Ron testing back in the day. We hope you like this. There's plenty more on the website and in the printed edition of Dirtbike. We'll see you down the trail.